Hello,
Castillo, sí.
Castillo,
How you
and
doing?
Mayor Chavez. Well, yourselves. Thank you for picking up the SIM card, Mr. Valentino.
Yeah, no
I was
worries.
afraid you were circling a little too often, but you found it eventually.
Yeah. So you were seeing me the whole time, man.
Try to keep my eyes on what's important. Now, Mr. Chavez has already been talked to a little bit about this, but I'm going to make you think a little bit more. I have some questions to see where you end up and if you end up in the same place that I do. The first question I have is, who runs San Andreas?
Who runs San Andreas? I think there's people who think they run San Andreas, but I don't know if they really run San Andreas.
The people with the power, senor.
Alright, and who would that be, in your eyes?
Well, there are several different powers currently playing a tug of war. There is the Justice Angel, who has positioned herself as judge, jury, and executioner, writing the laws, executing the laws, etc., etc. There is likewise this gentleman to the left of us, Senor Nino, who is a mayor and a man of much distinction, who with a simple phone call can rally many people to his side. There is then the criminal underworld and the leaders of each big gang who believe they have some power to dictate the whims of the city. And it seems as though all three of these are working in concert in this tug of war.
Now, you have, who gives Angel her power? Where does she get it?
The government.
Just the government? Let me ask you slightly differently. If you have, as part of the operation, product that you're not allowed to touch but is still usable, how do you get rid of it? How do you make it be worth something again?
So if I'm understanding correctly, there is a product which has value, but it's in the incorrect hands.
Yes.
Naturally, you would pass it to the hands who could make use of it and distribute and to use it.
And if you do that, and they use it for nefarious means, and you then reacquire it, would that not be beneficial?
You said, would that not be official?
Beneficial.
It's a little hard to understand you right now. I'm trying to. Your mask is a little fuzzy.
It does that, unfortunately. Would it be beneficial?
I would imagine, senor, if the person who is coming to could use it correctly, see, it would be beneficial. But what are you getting at? What is the point you are trying to drive home?
Well, in this city, you have two main factions that are constantly warring with each other. The criminals and the PD. The criminals can do crimes, get caught, lose their weapons, lose their drugs, and get shoved into an evidence locker, never to see the light of day again.
Yeah.
Now that is perfectly good products, guns, equipment, drugs, chemicals.
Are you hinting what I think you're hinting at, senor?
I think he's hitting at a secondhand market.
What happens if they can do it legally? What happens if a group can go into any PD in the country, take everything from their evidence lockers, and hold it, per se? Instead of holding it, they then strip it down, wipe the prints, clean the serial numbers off, and redistribute it to other cities.
I would think the person in possession of those things would be a very powerful and rich man.
Or a rich organization. Who in this country can go into any police department and grab their evidence from their evidence lockers and no one bats an eye?
The
FIB.
Marshals.
The FIB. The FIB, at any point in time, can walk into any police department in this country, take the evidence, collect it, say it goes to a warehouse, and then it disappears. Because who's going to look for a gun from 4 years ago?
Love
The
the stream.
Marshals.
Not
Keep at
anybody
it,
that I
King.
could think of, senor.
Notice, thank you for the 15
No
months.
one's going to do it. There's no point in doing it. So what they do is they then take that gun, and I'm sure you two are well aware of what comes into the city on the regular. In bright red boxes almost wrapped up with a bow.
Ah, I'm starting to understand. So you're telling me that whenever we hear the horns a blowing, that is just a piece of this larger puzzle?
Well, let me put it this way. If the FIB gets its power from law enforcement, and gets its influence from that as well, and criminals are committing more and more crimes, the FIB can turn to the public and ask for more money to then get more equipment to fight that crime, which they then catch. And isn't it so convenient that as the police departments tend to catch more and more criminals, new avenues for criminals to commit crime and just come into the city? And but a month later, PD gets the equipment to handle it. And the cycle keeps going and going. Does crime ever really lower in the city, or does it always just keep rising?
No, senor, it never lowers. Instead, it snowballs, becoming more and more and more and more.
And the people on the back end keep filling the fucking pockets with all the money.
And if they're the ones who also are the ones who are providing that equipment to sell again to the criminals who want to buy it to do more crime, that they will then get caught with by the said people, doesn't that make it double dipping?
It's a never-ending circle of profits for these motherfuckers.
Are you telling me, however, that somebody in the FIB is doing this knowingly, understanding that the guns will end up in the wrong hands again?
And again, and again. Guns that you are getting in this city, probably from Vice City, Liberty City, or Los Venturas. The drugs, seeds for weed, oxy, fentanyl, same thing. People being caught, different cities, and it just being transported over here. This, as Mr. Chavez has seen a little bit of, city is meant to fail. He is not given the tools he needs to make this succeed on purpose. Because so long as the FIB can point to this city and show, if you give us money and more money, crime is stopped. But they keep getting new things, and so we need more investment. We need more power. We need more influence. They start buying politicians. They start buying votes. Sooner or later, all we have is an authoritative state, disguised as a democracy.
So tell me, senor, if everything you say is true, which I do not doubt. What happens now? How can we be of assistance to you? Do you speak as a representative of this organization?
I speak for myself and myself alone. I hold there is no organization until this moment. There is no group until you all are brought along. The hardest part in all of this is finding evidence that this is happening. They are very clever at keeping it all hidden. As I'm sure you know, you have met many people in the city who just give you any example of an illegal activity. We have, let's see, any bridge over underneath over in Southside, dealing weed, sending people to go and sell weed. We have Nico Bellic at the chop shop. The PD knows both of these people exist, and yet they're never arrested. Why? They're doing illegal activities. They're organizing. And yet they are left alone.
It's because they facilitate the crimes for more people to do. So if they take him down, then it stops them from taking, numerous other people down. Yeah, but they be getting the big fish, but they're not getting all the little fish to swim around with it.
Except they don't even, you go after the big fish. Always. You go for as high up as you can until you can find out who's sourcing it. But they don't do that. Right now, what I need, is a group who is willing to put feelers out and see if other gangs and other people are interested in stopping to be used, to put their foot down. They can still commit some crime. That's never going to stop. But to try and force the FIB's hand, force those in power to panic as more goods flood this market, and they aren't getting paid for it. That's a tall order. It's not a simple order. It's not a simple goal.
When you say evidence, what type of evidence exactly? You looking for confessions?
I'm looking. Confessions would help. Anyone who would be willing to speak about this would be great news. But the only way to win this is for the public to be on our side. It's for the public to see the citizenry that what is happening isn't because of the criminals and isn't even because of the police departments. They're done because someone higher up is laughing at death and destruction for the sake of death and destruction.
This is the doctor that operated on Angel when she was in ICU.
Let's say we are to put these feelers
I know
out.
this. Nino's
And they
unsure
say
of
by a
that.
stroke of luck or some cleverness, we are able to gather some information regarding
That's why he said he
some
could
of these
have
figures in the FIB
ended it right then and there.
who are orchestrating these attacks, the guns and illegal stuff flowing in the market. What then, and how quick do you expect it? Do we contact you? Do you contact us?
But then again, it may
The
not
SIM card that you have in your
necessarily
possession is how
be
you
him
contact
either,
you.
right?
You will be paid
So
for any
don't worry about
information
it too
you
much.
provide.
Let the RP sort of play out. It points at that,
May
but
I
you know,
double
when it
back
comes to
make
things
sure I
like this, you
understand
don't
it
want to
correct?
think too deeply about those connections because it's less important to the overall
persons
arching
that are in
storyline, right?
charge of the FIB, they are incentivized to have crime in the city in order to keep getting a budget from the state to keep increasing their power. Am I following correct?
Correct.
The more violence, the more important the FIB is. The more money they need, the more power, the more they must grow. Big government. Is this correct?
Yes.
I understand.
It is because
Do you have
he
any
called me
names
originally
currently
on his
of these
phone.
persons in the FIB? Or any leads?
Not in the city, no. Las Venturas would have been a different story. Here, I do not. My connections here were cut prematurely.
No. It is the fashion of government agencies to be extremely compartmentalized. Meaning the person at the
Let me
highest
call you
top
right back. We got to
could be
talk.
very crooked, but the
sounds good.
workers
Later, bye.
beneath are not so. Are we to assume everyone in the FIB is complicit or only select figures at the very top?
Most. It's hard to tell the innocent from the guilty in this. Those who do the transport from PD to the warehouse, they don't know what's going on. Those in the warehouse do. Those in those office buildings do. They're sending them. Paper trails exist. Shipping manifests exist.
Severe weather alert today.
Let me ask you a question. What's your main motivation behind this?
Safety for the civilians, for everyone. I hate seeing people get used. I hate seeing people get hurt. With what is happening, everyone's getting hurt. Most are getting used.
You
Let
know,
me
that's
ask
the
you-
nature of the world, though, right? Happens all over the place, all the time. It's what happens. People get used, people rise up.
And it's, yeah, those people who have to rise up. But they have to know they're being used, and currently, most don't.
Let me ask you something, Senor Whisperer. Are we to assume, or should we assume, that any weaponry, as it increases in its ability to cause harm, for example, if missiles were to show up, would we be wise to credit it to this organization and the FIB?
Yes. Merriweather supplies most of it. They handle it.
You seem to be, or rather, I don't think that you would have contacted us unless you sensed some grave danger and urgency. And I've had a premonition for some time that we are heading straight for something big and disastrous. Are you of a similar opinion?
Yes, they're getting antsy. The city is spiraling already.
Now, when we contact you, are we only to contact you when we have names, or we have any information about certain weapons coming into Los Santos?
Both.
What if I myself were to hypothetically be in possession of a missile Would that be of interest to the Whisperer?
Very. Just a rocket launcher. What type of missile are we talking about?
I'm talking a missile, not some simple handheld rocket.
Mass
That would-
devastation type shit.
Oh. And they're just handing this to you?
I'm only speaking in hypothetical, senor.
Sure. Hypothetically, if I was to think like them, I would give you the premonition that I would be giving you a missile, when in fact, you're a decoy.
Can
You have
say that?
something,
Can you
you're-
repeat that?
you're a decoy for wherever the missile's going. Edgar, many would be a fool to trust you completely. With what you have done in the past, they would have to have you wrapped around their finger with so much blackmail and so much pressure that you would have to, if they said to jump, you would jump. It strikes me that you are not that person. You would fight against that with all of your might.
And yet it is still possible that I may hypothetically come into possession of some
Sure.
of this stuff.
It is. But again, I would, in my opinion, not hand any sort of high-yield missile to a person who might use it in a way I do not wish.
See. The point of why I bring it up is, again, if we were to rally behind your cause, which we may be very inclined to do, and we are to contact you, I just imagining the nature of such information. What will we get in return? Is it just the satisfaction of knowing that we have helped the citizens of Los Santos?
More than likely, you get to keep your life. What's going to eventually happen is most criminals will make so much money to the point where those in power feel threatened. And then they will send a strike team to eliminate said person, acquire all of their assets, and go back to playing God. That's the first part. The second part is you can still make a lot of money doing it. Keep your life, live your life comfortably. And then the third is you get to feel good that you did something good on top of it.
So you don't work for anybody, you work for yourself.
Correct. Not been in the city for very long. 4 months.
All right. We're gonna talk and we'll be in touch, all right?
By all means. Also, as more of me being forward, if you do not want to, that's fine. Destroy this, let me know, destroy the SIM card or hand it back.
No, senor, we are extremely interested.
That's fine. It's
than you
just a
would imagine.
precaution. The alternative is if you plan on doing anything else, betraying me, just do it to my face, put a gun to my head, and fire. Would much rather it be in person and up front than in the back. As time goes, I'll share more,
I'm in a bush.
because there is much more. But for now, or tonight, into this morning, we have a new start.
We'll be in touch.
Take care. Be safe. Watch your backs. I'm starting to pay attention.
Oh. I'm going to be honest. That was awkward because I thought y'all two were following me, and then he did. So, all right.
Do you mean that we were following you?
Oh no, down to the car.
Yeah, like when we did our goodbyes, I thought the three of us were going to leave, not me and that guy.
I don't understand what he was saying.
Heaven forbid I take a moment to comprehend everything this fucker was saying because he was
Yeah.
saying a whole lot.
Yeah,
If
he didn't
what
really
he's saying
sound
is
like that when I spoke to him. It was a lot more, less raspy and more, normal voice. Maybe he's
Well, like every
he's
two
got a
other words.
respirator today.
Less cyborg.
Yeah.
Fuck what he sounded like, one of the things he was speaking about. Do you put any weight in them? He forgot his light, by the way.
Yeah, he did. Look. Gentlemen, what you want to do with this? Up to you. Like I said, this came across my desk. Seems something up your alley. This could be nothing. Could be something. But what are your
Travis,
thoughts?
Did you note on the pier mention the exact thing to us? You were hinting very strongly about the cargo chips. In the same breath, you mentioned Angel and the government. This man has now repeated his theme.
But this
It
case,
was-
he was giving us a debrief of what he talked about with him.
It wouldn't be the first
Yeah.
time that they have created a problem in order to step in with the solution to cause disaster and then ask for the means to solve the problem.
So I will say that I don't really know the guy's mission statement. I don't know what he wants outside of information, right? But for me, this seems like someone that could be an ally for people that want to do right by the city, right? And even if at the end of it all, it turns out that his ultimate desires, which he hasn't really fully disclosed. I mean, it's easy to say, hey, I'm doing this for the people. But even if things end up going astray down the line, the information that he could give in and of itself would be at least valuable. Right?
No, this man knows a lot more than meets the eye, and he has a lot more information than he is revealing. He would be stupid to show his entire hand initially.
I can tell you one thing. When he says he could have killed off Angel, I can tell you he wasn't lying about that.
He was also watching me when I went to go pick up the SIM card, but I'm not surprised they expected that.
Why would he kill Angel?
Not that he would, but that he could. He was in a particular... He was in a position where he could have done it. And I don't mean in a way that would have been found. You know what I mean?
No, let me ask you something. It's something I've been wondering for a long time. It's no secret that something big is coming to Los Santos. And if what this guy is saying is true, there are those who want Los Santos and its citizens to survive. And there is the other side that only looking for destruction and their own personal gain. Where is your heart in all of this? Are you the man who wishes to save the people,
Of course.
or a man looking after your own interests?
I think that answers itself. I mean, I wouldn't be mayor for any other reason. And if I was mayor for another reason, I'd be driving a vehicle that was mine. I'd be spending money that I'd be making. I'd be cutting myself checks. But I haven't taken a single penny out of the $210 million in the county account and given it to myself.
210 million, you say?
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you a question, Nino. What if
Yeah.
you were on the other side? What if you were the bad guy? or what would be deemed as the bad guy. Do you give a fuck about any of these people?
Brandon, do you remember? Did anyone ever tell you what Pegasus used to do late at night?
I was a part of it. You didn't know that.
DJ
know that.
hours.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that. Yeah.
DJ hours was coined by Pegasus. It's where where myself, Denzel, Harry, we used to drive around, and Miles used to drive around the city, and occasionally we'd come across a bunch of pricks that were trying to be hassling a bunch of, truck drivers or whatever, trying to make a little bit of money here and there. And there was no cops to be seen. So we'd ask them what the fuck they're doing and why they're harassing, why they're bullying these motherfuckers. And we make sure we put a bullet in their fucking head and bury it.
A bunch of vigilantes.
A product of necessity.
I don't doubt you, but I find it a little hard to believe, I have told Valentino here since day one that you're a gangster at heart.
You think I am or you don't think I am?
I think you are.
Oh, yeah.
And a gangster can never be a good mayor because a gangster look after himself and his gang.
Yeah, well. Anyone would say I'm the father of many of the gangs that are in the city today. But
I'd vouch for that. So, Nino, do you? How do I say this? You would coin yourself as a vigilante of sorts, if back in the day.
If I was back in the day, because nowadays I mostly don't give a shit about anything other than, keeping myself entertained. If I'm gonna be honest. What
I'm
you're
a
saying?
little more skeptical about this guy than I feel like this guy's fishing for information.
I'm all in with this guy.
Here's what I'm gonna tell you, Brandon. I don't want to give too much of an opinion on this guy beyond what I've already given, because even myself, I could probably waver in either direction. He can either become the guy that gets you caught up, thrown into jail, or a guy that may become a very heavy asset down the line. I can't put my finger on either, but I find them interesting.
I don't think this guy's going to get me caught up and thrown in jail. I think this guy is either probably going to be the death of me.
I mean, that could be true as well. But like I said, I found this guy interesting. And I think both of you seem to be the kind of guys that are looking for a little bit of interesting. A little more than just bang, bang, clack, clack. So.
It's not really our spade.
Most definitely, amigo.
So.
Do you wish to be updated on any level as things go forward, or do you wash your hands clean on this man from this moment?
I'll wash my hands for now. Unless you come across something big that you think I might need to know about. Or if you need some assistance. As long as it's not something that would be too much of a burden. At the end of the day.
Compromise you. See.
Precisely. Look, I ultimately don't really give a fuck if I spend time in jail. I look at it more like I get locked up or I get caught up or I got another 12 marshals up my ass. As if I don't already do. Well, that's each and every day is a day that I can't work for, the people of San Andreas, right? So, that's my only concern right now.
Nino,
Hey.
Yeah.
do you think that there's bigger strings at play here other than the marshals? Do you think, every government
They
has
are big.
a hidden hand of sorts, you know what I mean?
Yesterday morning I got a notice from the people that oversee the justices. Myself, right, and the SASM. And as of right now, all legislation is halted after I passed an audit, pointing out that the justices were over-encroaching and trying to take over too much power. I haven't made any public statements about it, mostly because, well, I don't know how many people really care, but it's a really big deal. As of right now, despite the fact justice is up until 2 days ago or yesterday morning, we're able to pick up, open up legislation and doodle whatever fucking dog shit they wanted inside. They can't do that no more. So, are there bigger powers? Absolutely. There always are. Hell, Brandon before Pegasus. A lot of those powers is somebody that, people that I used to work with. A lot of times you'll never know what their name is or how close to the top they are. It's entities that work with intermediaries, right? Sometimes going by aliases like Blondie and this, that, and the center. So a lot of weapons used to come onto the streets. You used to have to dole out these contracts. It's where a lot of these crews, some of which still exist today, they do these contracts thinking it was just, you know, for a little bit of jewels over here or a couple folders over there. Little did they know, those things were being traded internationally. And in return, information would come back. Information on movement of cargo. And I'm not talking about a cargo ship that comes around twice a day. But I mean, you know, once a month. A lot of assets inside. There's also another means by which a lot of these bigger weapons would find their way onto the shores of San Andreas to be picked up by myself and assembled underground in a bunker over by Mission Roll PD. And then doled out on the streets. Now, I don't think this guy is necessarily connected or that things still work exactly that way or that I know who those people are, but when you ask, are there people moving in the shadows? Bigger entities? Of course. Question is, who?
It's always the question, right?
Mm-hmm. Gentlemen, I gotta go. I gotta work on a case.
Take care, senor.
Be safe, Nino. Thanks for